Hello everyone, this is Iman and this is my submission for Module 6, Unit 1, Activity 1. In this presentation, I chose to talk about the standard CCSS.RI.4.5, which is describe the overall structure, example, chronology, comparison, cause and effect, problem solution of events, ideas, concepts, or information in a text or part of a text. I have chosen a standard from the California State Standard in ELA, which is 4.RI.5, to unpack because of how rich and varied it is. This standard involves students explaining how the events, ideas, or concepts fit in the overall structure of text. Chronology, cause and effect, problem and solution, etc. I like this standard because it is more interesting and it goes deeper into learning. It will allow me to go over several components, whereas 4.RI.2 only focuses on making students identify the main idea and find the most important details that strengthen the main idea and explain the text in their own words, which is something they've been doing for a long time in my classroom in an indirect way. There are two big ideas in this standard. Determine the overall structure of a text, chronology, comparison, cause and effect, problem and solution, where the students need to figure out which of the text structure the author uses to communicate the events, ideas, concepts, and information. And in a text or part of a text describing the overall structure of events, ideas, concepts, information, where the students will evaluate how the text structure connects the event, ideas, concepts, and information presented in the text. To do so, students will need a specific skill that will allow them to go over what has been said before. Students must learn to identify and analyze the varying structures. In short, they need to be able to recognize the type of text structure and examine it to better understand its meaning. Let's say they are reading many different texts on the topic of the Civil War. Each one will use a specific structure in order to accomplish varying purposes. So in order for them to determine the structure, they need to analyze it and understand the purpose that the author used to convey his ideas. I will give my students different activities to strengthen their understanding. In the first activity, I will give my students several cards that contain text and passages of different text structures. Their job is to figure out which text contains which structure and label it. Then they will put the information into charts. They will use as a resource an anchor chart that I use to explain for them the lesson. In the second activity, I will make the students play a matching game by dividing them into three groups. The first groups will be holding cards that contain the types of text structures. The second group will be holding the definitions of text structures, and the third group will be holding small passages of these structures as examples. This activity is fun and at the same time interactive, and it focuses on all the aspects of the standard. In my last activity, which is the third, I will set sticky notes in the middle of the classroom that contain structural clues. In each corner of the classroom, there will be a chart that has a type of structured text on it. Students will take turns to pick a sticky note and place it on the correct chart. They are allowed to change the sticky note if they feel that the one that they have is difficult for them. At the end of the activity, we will go over their answers and I will ask them to replace the ones that are misplaced. Moving on to assessment. In my assessment, I will conduct different ones depending on the needs and level of my students. My class contains three types of students: low, medium, and high students. The way I will assess the students is going to be different from each group. For my high group, I will give them a short movie. After watching the movie, they will be asked to write a story about it using two text structures. For example, the first story will be written using cause and effect. Once they are done with the story, they are going to be asked to choose another text structure and rewrite the story. If they finish and choose to write with a third structure, they will be given bonus points. For my medium group, they will be given a small packet that contains the same passage but written using different text structures. Their job is to identify the structure of each passage and finding the structural clues. At the end of the packet, they will write a small paragraph explaining how does the text structures help explain the events and ideas of the passage. For my low group, I will conduct an oral assessment in the teacher's table. I will read for the students simple passages and will ask them to identify which text structure is in each passage. I will then write their answers on paper and move on to ask them about the structural clues. Then, we will talk together about how the structure of a text helps with the explaining of the concepts, information, and ideas. I will grade them depending on their participation in this conversation and their previous answers. This is all about me unpacking my standard. Thank you so much for listening and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.